Griffin Realtor. I am your host, Carl Griffin, the Realtor with MRG Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Ambassador Real Estate. Thank you again for joining. This is a weekly radio show involving everything real estate. We're going to start here today with a little music, and then we'll join right back to the show and get a few introductions. Thank you. To another episode, another week of the Real Estate Show with Carl Griffin Realtor. I am your host, Carl Griffin Realtor with MRG Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Ambassador Real Estate. I know that is a lot to say, but I don't mind it at all. We'll go from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We'll call it BHHS. That's what that stands for. And if you need any help with real estate, feel free to contact me at 402-415-1333. Again, that's 402-415-1333. And you can also reach me on social media at Carl Griffin Realtor, BHHSAMB. Thank you again. The introduction to the show. This is a show we talk about everything and all things involving real estate. I appreciate everyone that's taken time to listen over the first few weeks, and just want you to know this is a weekly show on the radio, 95.7 FM, and William also streams it live and on the social media sites. So I do want to make sure I give some love to William King for allowing me the platform to come on and talk about a topic I'm very passionate about, which is real estate, because there's so many avenues, and I believe it touches everyone's lives because we all need somewhere to live, and we all generally have to pay to stay where we stay. And then he's also given me the opportunity to play music during the show. So I hope that the songs are good for you as they are for me, because these are all going to be songs that I've listened to and found that I love them. A lot of genres, a lot of different kinds of music that you'll hear on the show. Like we started off with Take Care of Home by Dave Hollister, because again, the basis of the show is taking care of home. We're talking about taking care of where we stay. And I definitely am a proponent of home ownership and building equity through real estate. So we talk about all kind of topics, selling real estate, selling a home, buying a home, credit, which we try to touch on a little bit, but not as well as Nicole with Debt Diva. With Debt Diva with Lana Solutions, the show that is on before me. So I want to give her some love because she does a great job with that. Didn't listen to the whole show this week, but I did listen to some, and it was always, as always, very interesting, and you can always get some good information. So I recommend you take the advice that she gives that applies to you. But again, we'll also talk about investing on the show, because you do not need to be a realtor to be a home owner or to invest in real estate. And so there's a lot of investors in Omaha that are buying and flipping properties, buying and holding. And there's a lot of detail in that. So we'll get into home ownership and just the joys and the benefits of it. Sometimes there's some negative aspects to it, and we can talk about those too. Talk about, most importantly, equity, building wealth, just regular topics, everyday stories as they relate to real estate is what the show is going to be about. Why we're doing the show, my goals personally for this show are to educate the community about the real estate and how to go about either buying a home or selling a home or investing, because I've realized that sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And sometimes I kind of figured sometimes that people knew things that they don't. And so it's good to have an opportunity to educate. And that's one thing I learned as I've been journeying through this real estate career, is that I do have an opportunity to educate people. And sometimes people know things that they've heard things that they've taken as fact. And sometimes opinions are not always factual. Another thing I want to communicate with the community, obviously, just to let you know who I am and that I am here to help anyone that wants my help in real estate. Again, my name is Carl Griffin. I'm a realtor, MRG Realty Group at BHHSAMB, and you can reach me via phone. You can always text me 402-415-1333. Also want to inspire. Hopefully I can inspire some folks out there that have been thinking about purchasing I can maybe give you some information or some tidbits that can help you with that process. And of course, I can walk you through that process. And but that's another thing. I want to motivate people, and just kind of put that word in people's ear that there's a lot of wealth in the city. There's a lot of wealth that is attainable to us, and hopefully we can I can be a bridge to some of that wealth for some people. I know a lot of times we have goals that we kind of don't set the big goals because we don't know that they're attainable, or we don't feel like they are. And I would want you to know that they are, because I know where I started from. And the journey isn't always smooth, but we can always reach our goals if we apply ourselves and have that faith in accomplishing them. So that's a big part of that, is to have that faith. So we'll start we'll have each week we'll have a market update. The information will be coming from MLS data, other information sources I've come across. Also, the rate information is from our preferred lender at MRG, Brad Dexter, who's with Churchill Mortgage. I recommend Brad to anyone that is thinking of purchasing the home or refinancing, because he's great at what he does. And we'll get into that later. So always going to play some good music. Want to have some interviews coming up through the show. I want to spotlight some very highly qualified and talented individuals throughout the city, and then just some people that have done some great things and helped some other people throughout. So that's basically the logistics of the show. So we're going to get into the market update here shortly after another music selection. But also want to throw out this question. So every week, this question's on the table. So if you're listening, you want to comment, we can take questions on the show, or we can get these answers, and then we can discuss it on the next week's episode. So the question I like to know for people is, what do you love about owning a home? If you're a homeowner, what do you love about it? And then also, I know it's that question, but let's wrap this into a few questions. So what are some of the challenges to being a homeowner? So what do you love about being a homeowner? What are some of the challenges to being a homeowner? And then the last part is for people that have decided, because I've come across some people that have simply decided they don't want to own a home. They're just simply not interested. And I just would love to have people that have made that decision. Let me know what your reasoning is. The people I've talked to have very valid reasons. And, as you know, everything is not for everyone. So I'm definitely not pushing anything for people that are not interested. But I would love to know why. And, because we can share that with some other people. And maybe sometimes we can eliminate some fears, or we can help people understand some of the reasons that they have. Maybe they're misunderstood as opposed to wrong. So it's just sometimes we have misunderstandings, and then sometimes things just are not for you. And I definitely respect that. So we definitely want to make sure we promote home ownership, building equity, and taking care of home. Let me start here another song here. This one is Welcome back to the Real Estate Show with Carl Griffin Realtor. I am your host, Carl Griffin. I am a realtor with MRG Realty Group at BHHSAMB. And if you need any help with real estate, you can contact me at 402-415-1333. Again, 402-415-1333. And on social media, anywhere online, you can find me, Carl Griffin Realtor, BHHSAMB. Thank you again. That was I Think It's Me by Big Wade, who is a local artist, great singer, local entertainer, I should say. He's done a lot of great shows around Omaha, and he continues to bring us a lot of great music. So hopefully everyone is on top of that and supportive of Big Wade and his new album that he's just released towards the end of November, I believe. We're back to the Real Estate Show with Carl Griffin Realtor. I want to pick up on the market update here. And then I forgot to mention the topic of today's show is understanding equity and building wealth. So we're going to call this the equity episode. But first, we'll dive into the market update. As always, our interest rate information is provided by Brad Dexter with Churchill Mortgage. Current rates, we're still sitting around 6.25 to 6.5%. Refi activity slowly increasing, and that makes sense. It's hard to refinance when the rates are, where they are, I should say. And definitely it slowed down when they were higher towards the sevens and over 7 and close to 8% because everyone had lower rates. So it make no sense to refinance and get a higher rate. I won't say make no sense because it made sense for some folks. Obviously, some people did it, but the refinances are upticking. Slowly increasing is a good way to say it. Now, we did have some mortgage rate. We had some interest rates cut recently by the feds. And so I just want to point out that whenever you hear that, like the new Fed rate and when they're coming out and they give the press conference or the information, just want you to know that mortgage rates don't always respond directly to the Fed rate decisions. So those are more, those Fed rate decisions generally influence short-term borrowing, like credit cards and things like that. Whereas the long-term fixed mortgage rates, they respond to they're tethered to other factors. It's maybe investor expectations, inflation outlooks, and the 10-year treasury yield, if you have any information or understanding on that. But just want you to know that every time you see that they may have lowered the rate, it doesn't necessarily mean that the interest rates are going to drop. And so I think a lot of times people hear that and they think that, okay, I'll wait because the rates are dropping. And if you've been in real estate or if you've been online over the past few years, you've heard that the rates are going to drop. And so I just want to, take that with a grain of salt because they have dropped slowly and, but not surely. And there's no number that you can, that I would recommend you waiting on because those 3% rates are simply not going to be around anytime soon. And so just basically find the best situation for yourself. And if you're ready, you're ready. And then we can move on from there. One other thing a couple of things I want to point out for Brad Dexter, who's our preferred lender at MRG. Brad's with Churchill Mortgage, and he's I would say he's one of the best in the business as what he does. He definitely walks clients all the way through from the start to the finish, starting with the simple phone call. You can get information on where you stand as far as being able to purchase a home, being able to refinance if you're investing and you want to maybe, or if you own a home, you want to purchase another home, he can help you with those things. One thing he did make sure he pointed out that he rarely asks for appraisal fees up front, which I think is very helpful for a buyer, especially if you're on a limited income, because a lot of lenders are charging for that up front. Some programs, they'll have you bring the fee up front and then they'll let you know that you'll get it back at closing. But if you think about that, if you don't close, obviously you don't get that back. So I think that's definitely a benefit of Churchill Mortgage. Another one is that they are waiving their VA loan fees for the foreseeable future. They haven't put a deadline on this. And so as far as we know right now, they're waiving VA loan fees. Now that is a very helpful thing for you. As you get to going through your closing process and you get to the closing table ready to close, you can save some money that way because they're not charging those fees. And so when we're talking about a VA loan, we're talking about for the veterans. And we just want to make sure that what they are doing, I guess, is they're finding another way to make home ownership more affordable for those that served. And so I just want to reiterate that there are generally no down payment for VA loans. And so I just want to keep making sure I push that out to everybody every week because there's some information that I would say, take all stats that you see online with a grain of salt. But at the same time, they're saying 7 of 10 veterans don't know that there's no down payment for a VA loan. And I think that's very important to know because the down payment is usually a hindrance to people that want to buy a home. I know it was an issue for me when I was thinking of purchasing. I always thought I had to have 20% down, and just the thought of saving that amount of money, it just made me know it was a long-term goal. It was a longer-term goal. And no matter what age I was, if I didn't have that money, it was something that I felt like I was saving for, but it was something that it was out of reach at the time. So little did I know that there are some programs out there that you can get home buyers assistance, and you can get the first time home buyers assistance, I should say, and things like that. So I ended up getting a great services when I ended up purchasing my first home, to where I believe I may have paid $1,000 for the earnest deposit. And when I went to closing, I remember having to get a money order, and it was less than $2. And I'm thinking, I've got that in my pocket. Can I just bring it? But, due to the legalities of it, they would only accept either cashier's check or money order. But the point is that you can get into a home for very little down payment. Even if you're not a VA loan, I should say, if you're not getting a VA loan. But at the same time, if you are, you should know that if you're a veteran, you would generally not have to pay a down payment when you purchase a home. There are some instances. So if you're getting a VA jumbo loan, if you have only partial entitlement, or if if there's a co-borrower, I should say. So you're buying a house with someone and they're not qualified for a VA loan, then you might get a partial amount. So those 3 times. So I just want to make sure I want to make sure I don't say every single time. But for the most part, there's no down payment for VA loans. Okay. So I feel very confident in saying that. And if you're one of those people that meet those exceptions, you can always come back to me and we can discuss it. But you definitely want to run that by your lender. If you're a VA, if you're a veteran, and you've thought about purchasing a home, but you may have thought it might have been out of reach for you, you can definitely, I recommend reaching out to Brad, and I can connect you to him and getting that information. How much, where do I stand? That is obviously, I would say that is a great question to start with when you're checking out your ability to purchase home. You want to know where you stand because obviously, again, I believe in goals and we want to be able to set them. So even if we find out that we're not quite ready to be approved, we can get the information to know what it would take to get approved. And then, we can follow those steps, and life will lead you towards your goals if you have the faith. Okay. But back to the market update. Again, let me take a brief mention again that I'm Carl Griffin. And if you need any help with real estate, get with me at 402-415-1333. You can also reach me at Carl Griffin Realtor, BHHSAMB on social media. You can text me, you can call me, you can send me a message, but either way, we'll get connected. generally pretty responsive, and so make sure we stay connected. Um, Douglas County, we're still talking about the average home price is 320,000. Sarpy County is about 345,000. Douglas County, that number's flat. Sarpy County, that's an increase of about 4.9%. And that does include new construction. So that includes the new construction. So those numbers, the 320, 345. So you may be under that amount for the amount of home that you are ready to purchase, and that's okay, because this is talking about the whole county, and where averages and can go a lot of different ways, but the average number for Douglas County 320. Sarpy County 345, and those are the two counties we're going to focus on mainly on the show. But I do want you to know that I am licensed in the state of Nebraska, and I service the surrounding areas. So it's not only those counties, but just to keep the numbers simple, we're only going to talk about the Omaha area and surrounding areas. So Sarpy County definitely is included in that. So new listings combined for Douglas and Sarpy County is 1,031. That is actually down 5.5%. So Douglas County, they had 740, which was down about 10%. And then Sarpy County had 291. So those are up actually 8.6%. So Omaha is actually in the top 16 states with the most affordable homes. And so we're thinking that 320, 345 in Sarpy, we know that we're competitive. We're 16 states, maybe 15 are considered to be more affordable, but we're definitely in the running. So that's something to think about. Median days on the market, let's say combined, we're about 12, or I would say probably closer to 15 or 16. So Douglas County was about 17 days, and this is through October 2025. So we didn't include November in that, but we're at 17 days, and then Sarpy County is 16 days. So that's about a 6.3% increase in Douglas, about a 14% increase in Sarpy. And so that just kind of lets you know that homes are going to be on the market a little longer than they may have been a year or two ago. And so that doesn't mean that the sky is falling. It does not mean that we're having a crash, and it doesn't mean that, you need to be afraid of putting your home on the market. It just means that we need to have a little better strategy as far as putting it home and pricing it right and being aggressive as far as how we price it. We want to make sure that we're taking the market information into our consideration as far as what we're trying to do. So for example, we're going to, because we have to take the buyers into consideration and who's on the market. So right now there are more buyers on the market, and then they have more opportunity, more choices. And so they're going to be a little more selective. And that also helps drive that number up as far as days on the market. So when there are less homes, you had more people on the market jumping on them. And then that builds the competition, and that builds, that over asking price, that's how that gets started. Those bidding wars, I should say. But, I would still say home ownership is definitely a positive step towards building wealth. And I would say if you are a homeowner and you're thinking of selling, you're thinking about moving to another home or cashing out and moving out to another place, then, those options are still available. Those options are, I think there's only been a few years in the history of that there's been negative depreciation for the home values. And so that's was when the market was crashed about 2008, 2011. And so historically, real estate has always been the best investment, and that hasn't changed. And I don't see that ever changing. And that's coming from someone who is obviously passionate about real estate, but it's still, the data that's out there and it's proven information. Just want to give some examples of a payment schedule. Let's say if when the rates are at 6.25. So right now, the average person on the average rate, you might be paying around $1,975 a month. And that's with a 20% down. Okay. Because if you don't put 20% down, then you're going to be paying P&I, which is, you're going to be paying principal and interest, and that goes on top of, or actually you're going to be paying private mortgage insurance, which is going to be on top of the P&I, the principal and interest. So the 1975 would be about, that'd be your principal and interest. If you're not 20% vested into the ownership of the home, then you will have to pay private mortgage insurance. So your number could be a little higher than that. And as we talked about last week, if, let's say from 6.25, another comparison to 6.75, then that takes you to 2082. So that's, it's a pretty good amount. Actually, it's about, what's that, almost over $100 difference. So just kind of gives you an idea that when the Fed do drop the rate, even if they go down a little bit, it can help you as far as your monthly payments and your monthly amount goes. And so it's always a good thing to keep an eye on those numbers and know where you're at if you do want to refinance. You know, so we're thinking about, if you think about it. So let's just want to throw out some examples. So if average, I would say, if you're trying to rent a decent home in Omaha, 1,700 is, I'm gonna just say that's an average number right now. And if you're at 1,700, you're paying times 12, 20,400 a month, a year. So that means out of this year, you're going to pay $20,000 for where you live at. For 3 years, that's 61,000. 5 years, 102,000. And so that's a lot of money as, for someone to be paying for where they live and not be gaining any equity. And so everyone's not ready, and I understand that. But when you are ready, I'll be here to help you. So be sure you contact me, 402-415-1333. I'm Carl Griffin, Realtor with MRG Realty Group at BHHSAMB. So again, we want to get into the main topic, which is equity. And equity is the difference between your home's market value and what you owe on your mortgage. It increases as you pay down the principal that we were just talking about, and as your property values rise. So every monthly payment adds a little bit more to your ownership. So every month you're paying down that P&I. And then historically, like we said, the home values are going to increase. And so you're gaining equity just by living in your home. You're basically being rewarded for the steps that you've taken already by being credit worthy, by having the debt to income ratio, basically having a job that is, able to be able to afford the mortgage. But you've already, if you're a renter, you're already paying to live where you live. And so it's just a matter of getting into home ownership and then being able to take advantage of those things that way. So before we get too much deeper into the main topic, and I know we've gone a little bit, I'm gonna play another song. We'll come back and discuss that further. Let's see what we got here. So again, Carl Griffin Realtor, BHHS. you. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show with Carl Griffin Realtor. I am your host, Carl Griffin Realtor with MRG Realty Group at BHHS AMB. Back to the topic of understanding equity and building wealth. Again, equity is the difference between your home's market value and what you owe on your mortgage. So again, if you have no mortgage, if you have a home that you have been that has been paid off for years, then I want you to understand that you have equity in that home. So if you own it and you own a mortgage, if you own it and you have a mortgage, then the difference would be between the market value and the balance of the mortgage. And for easy numbers, if you have a home that is, say you have $100,000 home, that is the market value, but you still owe $20,000 on your loan, then your equity would be $80,000. So that's pretty good, pretty easy way to calculate it. But to determine the market value, that'd be something that you want to reach out to me and I can help you get that information. But you can also, looking up your home online to give you an idea. So if you look up your home online and see what they give you as far as the market value, then it kind of puts an idea in your head of, hey, I got some equity. So I want, people to know that, because even as homeowners, we don't always know. I've met people, and I've actually, I was one of those people. So I was a homeowner and didn't understand that I had a lot of equity that I was able to basically tap into, or basically it gives you peace of mind to know that, okay, I have this asset. And so I always say, look at homes more of as an asset, even if it's your first home and you're a first time homeowner, and obviously you want to buy a home that you love and you want to build, the wealth, and you want to, raise your family in it. But at the same time, doing all of that, keep in mind that this is an asset, and the value, my equity in this home is increasing every day as we go. So why it matters? Because equity is a financial foundation. Okay. So like I said, it gives you flexibility, stability, and leverage for your future opportunities, your return on ownership, and a key pathway to generational wealth, as we've been discussing. So basically you can increase, you can build it if you want to make extra, principal payments if you can. So if you ever get, additional money, that's another way that you could help yourself, is putting that money on towards some of that principal. So time is your biggest ally. So the longer you own the home, the more your equity grows. So I do want to make sure it's not a quick get rich quick scheme or anything like that. So it's not, here, buy a home and now I got all this equity and I can go and do all these things. It's more of a long-term investment, and something that will build over time. So the ways that you can access it, the ways you access the equity in your home are not always easy. And so if you are someone that, has a home that you don't have to pay on, there's no mortgage on it, all you're paying is taxes. You might have might have a lot of equity. Let's just say, you might have a lot of equity, but then you also have to have a way to access it if you want to keep that home. So you could do that through a HELOC, which is you may have heard that term, but that is a home equity line of credit. You could also do a cash out refinance or a home equity loan. So each option has its own purposes. HELOCs are flexible and revolving. Cash outs, they obviously replace your mortgage with a larger loan. And then the home equity loans are fixed terms with predictable payments. So what that is the home equity loan is basically you're going to be getting a second loan. Whereas if you do the cash out refinance, then you're going to cash out on your equity. And so if you do the HELOC, then you have basically a line of credit to access the equity that you have in your home. So you always have to be responsible with how you use it, because it is a tool, but it should be used strategically. Okay, because again, I wouldn't take it and use it as a credit card. I got the HELOC now. I'm going to go spend, because you have to keep in mind it's going to create a bill for you every month. And so, can you afford two mortgages? Can you afford your mortgage and the bill that you're investing, that you're creating for yourself? And so, you want to be strategic in it. So, you know, some good uses would be home improvements. So if you want to, you need to, the home needs some repairs, but you don't have, you know, let's say disposable income. You could tap into your equity and use it that way to get those repairs done. Because again, by taking care of your home, you're increasing your market value. And so it all kind of goes hand in hand. Education would be another way to use equity. Debt consolidation, funding investments if you're thinking about starting a business or investing in something. So not luxury spending. I would say treat it more like capital as opposed to cash. Um, Healthy savings cushion. It protects against unexpected repairs, rate changes, and things like that. So equity it builds slowly through discipline and time. Okay. Real tangible asset that grows even when you're not actively using it. And so I've known people that um, they've had HELOCs, but they haven't used it. And so you still have the access to that money. So you might have $100,000 line of credit, but you don't have to use it if you don't need it. And so if there's a zero balance, then you're not paying anything on it, but you have that money available to yourself. And so even if it's 20,000, 50,000, whatever the equity is that you have is a positive thing for you. So over the past 3 years, Omaha and Sarpy County homeowners seen double-digit equity gains, partially thanks to limited inventory and steady demand. On average, you might have gained 40 to 50,000 in equity in Douglas County over the past 3 years. Sarpy County might be 10 to 30,000. So those are great. For you, but you didn't necessarily have to do too much of anything. It's just that the home values increased during that time when we had the excessive competition that we had and the limited amount of inventory. And so by simply holding steady and doing the thing that you've already grown accustomed to doing, you've increased your value and you've increased your equity. Or you may not have increased. It increased on its own. You've helped by paying your mortgage down. Okay. So you're always going to play a part in it, but sometimes the market does you a favor and by increasing that equity for you. So that's definitely a safety net that can support retirement planning, which we haven't even dived into retirement planning and how home ownership can be a great setup for you as you build for your retirement, because we want to live comfortably as we retire, after we retire. And so if you have any home ownership plans, that's definitely a way to build that up. Emergency expenses, you can definitely use it for that. Unlike stocks or crypto, it's a living asset and you live in it while it grows. So you're living in the home, you're enjoying the home, and at the same time, you're increasing your wealth. And this is something that you can always pass on to the family or your children, or you can get them involved. And so it's a good way for you to take care of your family. Investors use equity a lot. They call it the Burr method, which we've talked briefly about, and we'll get deeper into when we do an investment episode. But the Burr method, in case you are not aware, is the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. Again, let me say that again. It's the Burr method: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. And so equity growth is recycled into your new purchases. And it's how small landlords grow into portfolio owners responsibly. So if you have any notions of starting a portfolio, that's definitely something that I can help you with, and you can help yourself if you are a homeowner. And so I do recommend avoid over leveraging. Okay, because the rising values sometimes they can create a false confidence. So you definitely don't want to borrow beyond your means or the market stability. Always want to preserve 20% or more of your home's value as untouched equity. And so a lot of times or at the time, the things I've encountered is that if you're doing some kind of HELOC, they're only going to give you 80% loan to value. So you're going to keep that 20% vested into the equity, into the home, into you're going to have that 20% invested. And so they'll give you the 80%. So if you have $100,000 in equity, basically you're going to get a HELOC for 80,000. And so you're going to keep that 20,000 or 20% there. So one way to do it also is to basically check your home value annually, which is something that I can help you with. So reach out to your realtor, or if it's not me, definitely want to stay on top of that information. Want to stay informed about your loan balances, your refi options, local market trends. All those things help you out as you're building your equity and as you're learning how to access it. You definitely want to know what the market value is. So that's something that I can help you with. Again, I'm Carl Griffin, Realtor, BHHS and you can reach me at 402-415-1333. And you can reach me at Carl Griffin Realtor, BHHS online or on social media. Also, always by text. You can call me, hit me on social media, and we can get connected that way. Then I think I got one more song to play before we get out of here. Let's see what it is. But on that note, pretty much wrapping up here for today. And I just want to make sure I always thank everyone that has taken any time to listen. I appreciate the opportunity and the platform to be able to speak on a topic I'm very passionate about, as you can tell. So if you know me, we can talk about real estate all day long. Not necessarily, um, 100% comfortable yet getting the show going and operating and being on camera and things like that. But I am open to any kind of thoughts that you would like to share, any kind of criticism or any kind of improvements that you think that can be or should be made. But again, I'm always on top of that myself and looking for ways to get better at what we're doing. And so I just want to make sure you know that I appreciate you being here, whether it's a minute in the car, whether it's 2 minutes as you turn on your radio and get to your music. But whatever it is, if you've heard anything that helps you, then I've done a good job. And if there's even one person out there that's thinking about purchasing a home that I can help motivate and inspire, then I've done a great job that way too. But hopefully there's more of you out there in the city and around Omaha and Douglas and Sarpy County and surrounding areas. Hopefully there's a lot more homeowners out there that are ready or a lot more future homeowners that are ready to take that step. And then if you have a home that you would love to, or that you've considered selling, you're ready to see what you can do on the market. I'm definitely the person for you on that, or I'm available for you and we can have those discussions. So any conversations you'd love to have around real estate, that's what I'm here for. And it's just something that I love to do. So again, we're going to play another song and then we're going to wrap up for the week, and then we'll be back next week. Carl Griffin Realtor, BHHS Thank you again for tuning in or listening, or if you've caught any of the show. I appreciate it. And I'll be back next week. Have a good time. Have a good week. Thank you.